She walked away from the photo. Cameras clicked, confusion spread, and the tennis world held its breath. What Elena Rybakina did that night in Riyadh wasn't just a small act of defiance. It was a message. A message to the WTA, to the fans, and to the sport itself. Welcome to Net Rush Report, your home for the most emotional and dramatic stories in tennis. When Rybakina lifted the 2025 WTA Finals trophy, she should have been celebrating one of the proudest moments of her career, a season-defining victory that confirmed her place among the sport's elite. Instead, she made headlines for something completely different, refusing to stand next to WTA chief Portia Archer during the post-match ceremony. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate, and now, the tennis world is divided, with former stars like Roddick and Pam Shriver, and analysts like Jon Wertheim, weighing in on what they're calling one of the most defiant acts ever seen in women's tennis. Under the bright lights of Saudi Arabia's capital, Rybakina had just defeated Aryna Sabalenka in a thrilling final to claim one of the biggest titles of her career. But as cameras prepared for the traditional post-match photos, with both finalists and WTA executives, Rybakina quietly took a step back. She refused to stand beside WTA Portia Archer. The scene quickly grew awkward. Sabalenka, trying to mask her confusion, gave a small, polite smile. Archer extended an arm, but Rybakina stayed rooted in place, clutching her trophy and glancing toward her team. The message was crystal clear. She wanted no association with the WTA leadership. It was subtle, but powerful. And it sent shockwaves through the tennis world. To understand why Elena Rybakina made such a bold statement, you have to go back months earlier, to the controversy surrounding her longtime coach, Stefano Vukovic. In early 2025, the WTA accused Vukovic of violating its code of conduct, allegedly due to inappropriate sideline behavior toward players and staff. He was provisionally suspended, pending an internal investigation. The move caught Rybakina completely off guard. She defended her coach publicly, calling the WTA's decision unfair and based on assumptions rather than evidence. But the governing body moved forward anyway, eventually handing Vukovic a one-year suspension. Then came the twist. Just before the U.S. hardcourt swing, that suspension was lifted following a successful appeal. The WTA quietly reinstated Vukovic in August 2025. But for Rybakina, the damage was already done. She felt betrayed by the very organization meant to protect and support her. When she stood on that stage in Riyadh, next to the same leadership she felt had wronged her and her team, she made her choice. She refused to pretend everything was fine. When former ATP world number 1 Roddick spoke about the incident on his podcast, he didn't shy away from acknowledging just how intense Rybakina's emotions must have been. Let's be real, Roddick said. Elena Rybakina's situation could have gone a lot darker. You're dealing with an athlete who felt publicly betrayed, whose coach was accused, punished, and then cleared. That's a roller coaster of emotions. Roddick added that while he didn't necessarily condone Rybakina's act of defiance, he understood it. She's not a player who throws tantrums, he explained. She's calm, composed, ice in her veins. So when someone like Rybakina makes a statement that bold, it's not impulsive. It's planned. It's a reflection of deep frustration that's been simmering for months. He also warned that the incident could have had serious repercussions. The WTA's lucky this didn't spiral, Roddick said. If Rybakina had gone further, if she'd boycotted press, refused the ceremony completely, or spoken out more aggressively, we'd be talking about a major player rebelling against her own tour. It could have been ugly. Tennis journalist Jon Wertheim offered a slightly different take. On the same podcast, he praised Rybakina's composure and said her decision, while controversial, was consistent with her personality. Rybakina isn't theatrical, Wertheim said. She doesn't do things for attention. This wasn't rebellion for the sake of headlines. It was pure Rybakina, calm, deliberate, and quietly powerful. Wertheim also noted that while the WTA might have been heavy-handed with Vukovic's initial punishment, he didn't believe the governing body was malicious in its intent. They were protecting their standards, he said. The WTA had complaints, they acted on them, and later they reversed course when new information came to light. It's part of how governance works. But to Rybakina, that process probably felt personal, like a betrayal. He concluded that the moment in Riyadh wasn't about disrespect, it was about boundaries. She was saying, "I haven't forgotten what you did." That's not hate. That's humanity. Former world number 3 Pam Shriver, who's become one of the sport's most outspoken commentators, took to social media to criticize Rybakina'S behavior. In a now viral post on X, formerly Twitter, Shriver wrote that the WTA champion showed poor sportsmanship and lack of respect by refusing to stand beside Portia Archer. Shriver's take ignited a fiery debate among fans. Some agreed, saying that as a champion, Rybakina had a responsibility to uphold professionalism and respect for the organization. Others fired back, arguing that Shriver's stance ignored the emotional and personal stakes involved in the Vukov case. One fan replied, "Respect goes both ways. The WTA disrespected her and her team for months. You can't expect her to just smile for the cameras after that." Another fan added, "Rybakina isn't fake. She won, she stood for herself, and she didn't owe anyone a photo op." The comments section became a battleground, professionalism versus principle. After the storm of criticism and speculation, Rybakina finally addressed the issue herself. She didn't apologize. She didn't backtrack. Instead, she calmly explained that the WTA had multiple chances to clear the air with her and failed to take them. "The communication could have been better," she said in a post-tournament interview. "There were moments where I was waiting for a call, waiting for someone to talk to me or my team, and it didn't happen. After everything that happened with Stefano, it felt like there was no respect." She emphasized that her act wasn't meant to embarrass anyone, but to express what she felt was long overdue frustration. "I'm a player who always respects the sport," she continued. "But respect is a two-way street." That quiet statement resonated more deeply than any social media post or press conference rant could have. This isn't the first time the WTA has been accused of mishandling communication with players. Over the past few years, several top stars, from Iga Swiatek to Aryna Sabalenka, have spoken up about scheduling issues, prize money gaps, and leadership decisions. Rybakina's act might just be the most visible symptom of a larger issue: a growing disconnect between players and administrators. Many believe that while the WTA has made significant progress in promoting equality and visibility, it still struggles to earn the trust of its biggest stars. A former tour insider told Tennis Channel. Anonymously, players feel unheard. They're told to smile, play, and promote, but when real issues come up, it's corporate silence. Rybakina'S defiance, then, becomes more than personal. It's symbolic, a moment that captures how many athletes feel about the people running their sport. Fans have been passionately debating this saga online, and the split is clear. Some fans view Rybakina as a hero, a quiet warrior standing up for herself in a sport often dominated by corporate diplomacy. Others see her as unprofessional, suggesting that while her frustration was valid, the stage of the WTA Finals wasn't the right place to express it. But no matter where you stand, one thing is undeniable: Rybakina's gesture made people talk. It forced a conversation that the WTA has long tried to avoid. And in a world where athletes are often told to stay silent, that's powerful. The fallout from this saga could have long-term consequences. For one, Rybakina's relationship with the WTA might remain strained for months, if not years. Some insiders believe she could limit her media appearances or refuse certain WTA events if she feels uncomfortable. Others think the organization will try to mend fences quietly, through back-channel meetings or private apologies. But whatever happens, Rybakina has already changed the narrative. She reminded everyone that players, even the quiet ones, have a voice. And sometimes, silence and distance speak louder than words. In the history of tennis, moments like this stand out, not because of their controversy, but because of their courage. Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, Novak Djokovic, all have, at one point, challenged the structures that control their sport. Elena Rybakina may now join that list. Her act in Riyadh wasn't loud. It wasn't angry, but it was unforgettable. Andy Roddick was right. It could have gone darker. But maybe that's why it mattered. Because it showed restraint, strength, and the quiet rebellion of a champion who refuses to be silenced. Rybakina's message was clear: respect me, respect my team, or don't expect my applause. That's all for today's report. If you found this story as powerful as we did, Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more emotional and dramatic moments from the world of tennis, right here on NetRush Report. Because in tennis, sometimes the biggest statements are made without saying a single word.